Hi, Rudy.
Hi,
So,
Tanzi.
have you read this book, Spiritual Anatomy?
Yes, I love it.
Oh, okay. Good,
I,
good. I'm happy.
I received it with the opportunity to provide the endorsement, and I think it's very important for today for people to receive this type of information. Thank you for being that shining light. It brings many people joy.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Can you tell me more about spiritual anatomy, and what was the initial impetus to write the book? What was the first spark that drove you to write this amazing book?
Well, the interest came slowly and slowly. I mean, over the years, what I had experienced, I had maintained now and then my small writings. Also, most of it had been stored here. And a lot of books are written on yoga and chakras. And the historical development or the actual development of the yoga in India got stuck only with 7 chakras. There was no further advancement in understanding the entire yoga chakra system. And people got stuck with the Sahasra Dal Kamal. I don't know if you're familiar or heard of it. It's the center which, if you combine this top of the earlobes and go up like this, here is the 1,000-petal lotus they talk about. And they consider it to be the highest. And they also talk about Sat Chit Anand, means a blissful state.
Right, right.
Right. And my guru, my master used to say it is the Sat Chit Anand. The kind of consciousness is like a toy in the hands of a yogi, and he should stop playing with these toys and go beyond it. And and he also helped us experience stages beyond it in a very in a black and white. You can perceive them, see, as you advance. And so that was one of the reasons that how consciousness change as we um, attain greater heights in understanding and greater heights, not just in understanding, but having attained the greater heights, meaning as we move from lower chakras to the higher chakras, what happens to our consciousness? So, to my experience, there are 5 chakras within this 1 square foot of area here. So, one chakra is almost 3 fingers below our left nipple. Its mirror image is here, and you flip the mirror image here and then here. So, total 5 chakras in this area. And they all play with dualities, opposite qualities like peace versus restlessness, fear versus courage, love versus anger, and things like that. And if you recollect your medical college days, there was a term called nun's disease that was prevalent in around 14th, 15th century, and that's when this word was coined, diagnostic nun's disease, because most nuns those days used to develop a kind of cancer tumors in the left breast. And one wonders why only the left breast. So, and that reinforced my understanding also that around the left breast here, this area, is controlled, is regulated by our emotions, suppressed emotions, or overexpressed emotions. So these are dualities that are played out here. And the play of dualities that keeps us bound and doesn't give you a sense of liberation. Once we are transcending these 5 chakras, you are literally eligible. So you can say you are in a zone of liberation. You feel free because now you're no longer playing with dualities like likes and dislikes. That's a fundamental thing we all are preoccupied with. Even when you are sitting in a plane, likes and dislikes go through your mind. Oh, this person carrying too much baggage, and I don't like that. Air hostess, she's good. She's serving better. When we're watching TV, oh, I like to have that house, or I don't like that, what is being advertised. So our mind is always on likes and dislikes. And they are played out with these dualities. And once we transcend these dualities, means you understand life better, where you are no longer busy with likes and dislikes, but you transcend that with right understanding. Then you go above here, and a lot of energies become available to you, a lot of power. And people are crazy for power. But a yogi has to keep on moving. He cannot get stuck on one chakra. So what I have written here is, it's all about personal experience and how our consciousness keeps changing. Going beyond here, this is the play of dualities. But going beyond these chakras, where one feels, when we worship, there is an object of worship and myself. And lesser of myself, lesser and lesser identification with my stuff. I now identify more and more with the beloved, the object of worship. Right? So we slowly come near this SDK or Sahasradal Kamal, and such individuals who have really reduced our identification with the self and identify with the higher, some joy automatically just emanates from within. And then going further beyond, where no efforts are required. So far, there were efforts. Afterward, there are no efforts. Most people get stuck, and no research is actually took place beyond this chakra, because the bliss that one experiences, it's so overwhelming, and you don't feel like moving out of it. So that is the main reason why people could not go beyond it.
But that bliss becomes another attachment. It becomes that bliss itself can become sticky.
Yeah, you are jailed with the bliss. You are so much locked down by the bliss, and you're not able to go further in your consciousness with you. So that's why my master used to say that it is like a worm relishing the cow dung. So there is no difference between a yogi who is relishing this consciousness and the cow and the worm in a cow dung. They're similar in nature. So one has to go beyond.
Yeah, it's release from the attachment to even bliss.
Yeah.
Even the bliss that comes with higher consciousness can be a prison. Yeah. And anytime we indulge in sticky things, in the lower chakras, the stickiness comes from the need for retaliation, being upset, like and dislike, judgment. And then you keep climbing the chakras, but there's always something to like. And as long as there's something to like or desire, you're not free.
You're stuck.
Yeah.
And I would like to share another thing that I learned from him was his statement, so pure and simple. He said, look, children, they play with toys. They enjoy playing with toys. And as you grow up, as teenager, you're busy with romancing, right? Then later on, if you happen to become a yogi, you begin to enjoy consciousness. It is still a toy in your hand. Try to go beyond consciousness and find what supports this consciousness.
Exactly. And this is, consciousness is trapped in time and space. But pure awareness is not. Pure awareness is what we say non-local. So we can talk about higher and higher consciousness, but and this is something where Deepak and I have debated a little bit about the terms. But for me, awareness is different than consciousness.
Mm.
The pure awareness is existence. It's everything. Existence and awareness doesn't need time or space. When awareness or pure awareness becomes aware, it can only be aware of itself. And now that has to happen somewhere, space, sometime. And now we create consciousness. And to me, escaping even the highest consciousness into pure awareness means you've escaped the confines of space and time in your existence. I know this sounds very abstract, but many folks think when they meditate and they reach that bliss that now they've escaped the highest consciousness into pure awareness. But in pure awareness, it's acausal. There's no desire. There's no fear. It's just is.
Just is, yes.
And how you get there,
Well,
we're not going to get that with science. So,
and to measure the states, the various levels of consciousness, I don't think there are gadgets developed to measure the finest level of consciousness.
no.
Something that is everywhere. I'll share with you one real life experience. Once, I'm a pharmacist by practice, by profession, and I ran many drugstores in New York City and New Jersey. And my passion those days in 2003 and 2004 was to open as many drugstores as possible, say, independent drugstores. So I was always on the lookout. One of my managers, she took me to a grocery store, which was out for sale, good size store, and right in front of a hospital. I said, it's a wonderful place. I must open a drugstore here because then you don't have to do any marketing. Then the grocery store owner was there at that time, and those days I used to smoke also. So I, just for a courtesy, I bought my Marlboro Light and started smoking. And then next thing I said, oh my God, I have to use the restroom. So the owner led me to his office, to his restroom. I just could not use the restroom. The moment I get inside, there was so much of dark energy, dark force, just overimposing. And then I couldn't use it. I couldn't ease myself, and I just came out. And then later on, I asked the manager who came with me, can you find out what is happening there? So she called up the owner. And owner says, why he's selling the grocery store? But there was a robbery at that place. And in that robbery, one of his relative, the cashier, was killed in that restroom. He was shot in the head.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So now, many people, now my question was then and even now, how is it that memory gets stored in space? Something that happened in that location remains there in the form of vibrations or whatever we call it. And that field is there with certain impressions, and a person perceives those impressions, and depending on the nature of those impressions, you translate that in your mind, in your heart, maybe as love, maybe as fear. And if I had even better, accurate consciousness, then I should have been able to see what had actually happened without asking that person. Because there are yogis and history that people feel what has happened in this place 5,000 years back or even yesterday. There are some yogis who can say all these things. So when we talk of consciousness, it's always there. There is no question of past, present, or the future. It is static.
In pure awareness, there is no time or space, and everything has happened. Every possible thing has or is, everything that will or has it's all at once. In pure awareness, every possibility is already there, and it's even a quantum explanation for probability waves that have to collapse to create reality. You can say quantum. Look at it, but the bottom line is, in pure awareness, there's no time or space. So if you are able, in a mindful way, to clear your mind so much of what your brain brings you, the sensations, the imagination, the feelings, the thoughts, and escape that local consciousness of time and space to tap in for just 1 second, that intuition into pure awareness free of time and space, you can experience things that already happened because everything's already there in pure awareness. I mean, even quantum physics would tell you time and space is an illusion of our consciousness taking probability waves and collapsing them to our reality. Our reality is a species specific based on our genetics and our sensory systems, right? Our world's different than a bacterial world. They're all valid, right? Each universe is valid. Bacteria's universe, our universe, it's all species specific. But as probabilities collapse, we create our reality. You escape that. When you escape that, you escape the consciousness your brain is tapping into. You tap into pure awareness, and now you can tap into non-local events that are free of the time and space you're in now. And I think that's what that intuition was you had. You were intuiting in pure awareness, free of time and space and consciousness, an event, because of your own evolution as your own soul, evolving to reach those states more readily than that takes some time. And I guess that drove you to be where you are and what you're writing about today. This vector.
And the beauty of this heartfulness way of meditation, right? It transcends space and time.
Right.
For example, you are in United States. I'm in India. I can close my eyes, you can close your eyes, and I can help you experience the transmission, the pranahuti. Right? So it is transcending the space. But if I tell you that I'm going to work now on you at this moment, but you can sit on your own tomorrow evening. I work on you now, but you will feel it tomorrow evening. Something like that. Or you might say, Kamlesh, can you give me a meditation session? I say, okay, why don't you sit now? And Rudy says, no, I don't have time. Fine. Tell me when you can meditate. So you'll say, okay, I can meditate as soon as I reach home at 6 p.m. My job is, as soon as I have time, which is not syncing with your 6 p.m., I can sit here and say, whenever Rudy sits at home at 6 p.m., he will receive the sitting. Or you promised that you would sit at 6 o'clock, but then you forgot, and then you remembered it at 9 o'clock. And you say, okay, let me try it out, let me sit at 9 o'clock. That meditation session will still work on you because I have done my part. I have already given you the meditation session. It's up to you when you meditate, because the what we call sankalpa in Sanskrit means it's a prayerful suggestion for things to happen.
When I met Deepak Chopra, when we first spoke together at a TED Med at the Hotel del Coronado back in 2010. And after we spoke in our sessions, it also included Quincy Jones and Frank Gehry, who was on aging gracefully. Literally, we're in the restroom, and Deepak, who I didn't know at the time, I knew of him, turned to me and said, I enjoyed your presentation. Tell me, is the brain a noun or a verb? And so I wasn't expecting that. And I said, it's a verb, but maybe we should talk outside. The rest of it.
Yes.
And that led to us writing our 3 books together, Super Brain and Super Genes and The Healing Self, which is the other side of what I do, which is the more day-to-day self-care, the role of spirituality, the importance of mind-body, spirit connection to keep yourself in a healing state rather than a destructive state.
Lovely, lovely. I just received that book. I'm yet to go through it. Someone from US has sent me that book. And as I say, I'm just about to start, and I'm glad I met you.
Great, thank you.
Yes, yes.
Was that the Healing Self or the Super Brain or
the genes and super brain, or genes and it's something to do with genetics, where you have written along with Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, the genetic one was Super Genes. That was the second. The first one was Super Brain. And the one that I use now in my work in the McCann Center for Brain Health, where we offer help for people in keeping their brains healthy, promoting brain health, is the last book, The Healing Self. Had an action plan at the end about how to live your life to keep your brain healthy, emphasizing basically lifestyle and spirituality. And that's the one we use in the Center for Brain Health that I direct here at Mass General Hospital. And it gave rise to an acronym I use for brain health of SHIELD, to take care of your SHIELD is, the sleep, handling stress, interaction with others, exercise, learning new things, and indeed diet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sleep is the most important of all. Sleep, enough sleep, and timely sleep. Because if we follow the circadian rhythm and allow this cerebrospinal fluid to do its job, to flow it during sleep from the brain cells.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We didn't really know that in the neuroscience world until recently. We never knew the brain had a lymphatic system until
very special one.
Yeah, but we didn't know. We always believed up until 10 to 15 years ago that the brain didn't have a lymphatic system. But it turns out that at night when you sleep, this is when you wash out debris from the brain, and you also break down debris. And with regard to Alzheimer's, the debris that we call amyloid or beta amyloid is what gets broken down right after you dream and go into deep sleep. You break down the amyloid that was made all day in the brain, and then you clear it from the brain. So I like to say when you sleep, it's kind of like every time you dream and go into deep sleep, it's like a rinse cycle for the brain. You're rinsing the brain of the dream.
And I think the method we offer in heartfulness way of meditation, the cleaning aspect, it does tremendously in reducing the inflammation inside. So increasing the space within the brain cells, intercellular space to expand, because the inflammation is less. Because the brain can't afford to have unnecessary lymphatic system. I mean, it takes too much of space. The real estate is very limited, so it has to develop a different method without involving the lymphatic system. So it created its own system, and certain enzymes can be, I think, slowed down because of this rejuvenation process we offer. And we meditate in the morning, especially with an attention towards the heart, and we get immersed in that meditation. And our job as meditator is just close your eyes, and that's all. Rest of the work is done through the preceptors we call trainers. And if you believe in things like initiation, it is not a ritualistic initiation, but there is a process involved where person, meditator and a trainer, they sit together and prepare our consciousness in such a way that whenever we meditate, we automatically receive the transmission or grace from above. And that helps us dive deeper into ourselves. And this can be measured. This can be measured with the EEG. I mean, within few seconds, you will see a shift in EEG. Few seconds.
Yeah.
And
You
I
go
would
from
like
alpha,
to
beta down to theta, and you slow down.
immediately, immediately it will do. And we can do a lot of comparative studies of various meditative systems and say that this is good and this is just hoax. We'll be able to do a biggest service in the world by removing a lot of systems which are just being marketed for the sake of money, but that actually doesn't do anything. They act like placebo.
But well, so just unpacking some of the things you said, which I totally agree, and I really fascinated by all of your insight here, because as a neuroscientist, it's right on track. First of all, in the brain, there are different ways to clean out debris. So the brain is like a city, and people are bringing out their trash, and you have to take out the trash. And what slows down the brain as we get older is that trash builds up. And eventually the brain cells respond to that with inflammation. At the end of the day, it's inflammation that causes the most damage. The question is, how do you trigger inflammation? And in the brain, it's not taking out the garbage. So there are many ways for the brain. So you have to think about how much garbage you make and how well do you take it out? Well, how well we take it out, like you said, sleep. During sleep, we actually trigger cells in the brain called microglia.
Microglia.
They eat the trash.
Yes, glial cells.
You also trigger what's called the glymphatic system, where another cell called the astrocyte releases enzymes that break down the trash. And the third thing is literally the brain constricts to wash away this trash through the lymphatic system. That if you don't take out the trash well enough, or if you make too much trash, that lymphatic flow gets blocked. So this is where we get to meditation. Meditation gets us to how to stop making trash.
Correct.
Because what people don't realize is that there's a circuit in the brain, and this is relatively new information about Alzheimer's and trash in the brain versus meditation. There's a circuit in the brain called the default mode network, where it circles around the brain like this, and it's the network that fires to make you who you are, ego-wise. Like if this network wasn't firing, my face wouldn't look like this. It would look like my face looks like when I'm in deep sleep. When you're in deep sleep, you look totally different, right? None of your muscles are making your face the way you've made it. And so the default mode network is on whenever you're just not task-driven or mindful. So let's say you're just gazing at someone, judging them, or saying, I don't like this, I don't like that. Or you're obsessing about the past. I wish I didn't do that. You're anxious about the future. Anytime you're not in the moment, mindful of your surroundings, self-aware, the default mode network is just like a generator. This is where the most trash is made. Yes. The more your default mode network is on, where you're not being mindful or in the moment, you're obsessing about the past, you're anxious about the future, you're judging others, you're saying my way or the highway, you're set in your way, you're not flexible, you make trash. So as we get older, we make more trash because we become more set in our way. And when you're young, you're more open-minded, you're aware, you're in the moment, you have the wow moments. And the wow moments of youth become the so what moments as you get older.
So what moment? I like
and we
that.
call it, like, so what, been there, done that. So we call this the twinkle to wrinkle syndrome. In the beginning, this twinkle in the eye, and at the end, it's the wrinkle. Yeah, whatever, right? So twinkle, twinkle. So this is what causes the trash. So you have to think about both things. Make less trash by being more mindful, meditating, and then get enough sleep, and exercise does this too, to take the trash out. And that's bottom line of how you keep the brain healthy.
Yeah. And I've seen over the years of practice, I've been practicing since 1976, meditation. And what I have observed, that my thinking is very precise, understanding is very accurate also. So correct thinking and right understanding, I think, are two vehicles, I think, where we can reduce the buildup of toxins in our brain. Okay? And also something that is through the heart, where you are sincere enough, you are honest enough with your attitudes, then too you don't build up all this waste in our system.
Yes.
And continuously keep on introspecting. At night time, we have another process where we introspect ourselves and see if we did anything extraordinary. And we reflect on it and say, okay, I can do better. Or if I made a mistake, then I can resolve not to repeat the same again. So again, reducing the load of toxins day by day. And a time comes that you don't even build any toxins because your thinking is right, your feeling is right, your understanding is right. Then I think there is a zero waste. Of course, there will be some amount of toxins or waste created because of physiological processes involved with our activities, day-to-day activities. But as far as attitudes are concerned, where you mentioned two fundamental things, likes and dislikes, that is judgmental nature, right? And you also clearly put out this idea of prejudice. These are
prejudice, judgment, and as you get older, for purposes of subconscious need for security, being inflexible, thinking it's only my it's only my way. You're hardwired, and the hardwiring is what causes the problem. So you need to, in a Taoist way, be the flexible read, be open, don't judge, be aware in the moment, and this leads to less stress. And stress, of course, kills nerve cells and causes inflammation. But also when you're open, and this means opening your heart, which opens the mind,
yes,
are also going to learn more. And if you learn more things, you make more synapses. So we have 100 billion nerve cells, trillions of synapses, and they're being changed all the time. Neuroplasticity. This is what Deepak Chopra and I wrote about in Superbrain. Well, as we get older, those synapses start to die and go away because of the buildup of waste, the stress, and also the inflammation that's being driven in the brain. So when you're open and your heart is open, you're going to interact more with people. You're going to talk about things that matter, where you're learning new things. And this is going to build up what we call your synaptic reserve. And as you get older, the more synapses you make, the more you can lose before you lose it. And the other, just one more thing that you triggered in which you just said is that the heart, well, our brain is evolving toward love and service. The original reptile brain, the instinctive brain,
yes,
400 million years old, is just fight or flight, food, and reproduce, right? And it's in its instinctive memory. There's no need. You don't need to experience anything for those memories to drive you. And the limbic system here, which is maybe around 100 million years old, is where you have the first memories. Memory of pleasure creates desire and conditions you. Memory of pain creates fear and conditions you. And these are the first memories you have when you're born, is memories of what you like and what you don't like. And then finally, the frontal cortex says, hey, don't let that desire become an addiction. Don't let that fear become a phobia. And that's the logical intellectual brain. It's only about 50 million years old. But the newest part of the brain in the same area up front is giving us empathy and altruism.
I see.
It's connecting the brain to the heart. So the current evolution of the brain is moving toward self-awareness, awareness of yourself as part of a greater community, and empathy and altruism for others. And this is if you're in line with the evolution of the brain you'll have more mental vitality and you'll have more happiness. It's that simple. So love and service is the key.
I love this one. I have learned so many things in just few minutes, Rudy. And the biggest take at the moment is the evolving brain, continuously evolving brain. And brain is no more a noun, it's a verb. And synaptic reserve, these things are new for me. And I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, basically the brain is moving from selfishness in the brainstem to self-awareness in the more advanced parts of the brain. And self-awareness means being mindful of self and knowing that you are not your brain. You are not the experience your brain brings you. It goes back to being the witness, the observer. And, mountaintop consciousness, that you're sitting on the mountaintop saying, what is my brain bringing me now? And I don't identify with it, I observe it. And then that also keeps the brain in a healthier state because it reduces the amount of self-indulgence, obsessiveness, frustration, anxiety that can come with advanced age as we become less secure with our own brain and body within our world.
So all these scientific facts which are evolving now, and we are understanding the scientific perspective of positive thinking, avoiding pessimism, etc. 10,000 years back, almost 10,000 years, maybe 12, there was a communication between two sages. One was a king, another was a sage. And the king asks the sage that, what's the best way for emancipation? How to be truly happy? And there are other questions. The first dialogue starts with a question, and the sage answered, reduce your desires, more and more of less and less of desires. And second thing he said, embrace 5 qualities. One is kshama, means to forgive. Another is daya, that is compassion. Another is arjava, that means to be sincere in whatever you are doing. Another is santosham, means contentment. And final one, satya, being truthful. When we see this, and the whole book is about the entire exchange between the king and the sage is all about how to improve my consciousness. And it starts with these 5 qualities. And when we combine this with the scientific approach, that they are helping us reducing the formation of the waste and helping us remove the toxins.
Absolutely, yes, because I mentioned the default mode network where you make the most toxins.
Yeah.
And in particular, the waste product that leads to Alzheimer's disease. The amyloid, what's called beta amyloid. We all make it all the time, but it's plumbing. You make it, you get rid of it. You get rid of it when you sleep. You get rid of it with a healthy plant-based diet. We've shown all this scientifically, so I'm not just this is really science-based. When you sleep, you scrub it away. When you exercise, you enzymatically degrade it. We just published the actual mechanism from the muscle when you exercise, releasing a hormone that goes into the brain, binds a certain cell, it gets it to release an enzyme, and it breaks down the trash, the amyloid. We showed the entire mechanism, or even down to the receptor and nuclear events that happen for that. But at the end of the day, it's mindset. You've got to turn off, you have to turn off that default mode network that gets stronger and more hardwired with age. And it is driven by exactly what you just said, being conditioned subconsciously by the desires and fears that you developed your whole life based on memories of pleasure and memories of pain, respectively. Yeah.
More and more of more and more.
Yeah. And I think that, love and service is such an amazing recipe. I remember, in baseball in 2004, in my hometown of Boston, the Boston Red Sox won the World Series, and they had to come back from a 3-0 deficit to get into the World Series. Never been done before. And I talked to the batting coach, wonderful man, Ron Jackson. They called him Papa Jack. I said, what was the key? How did this team make history coming back from such a deficit to win the championship? He said, it's very simple. When the player got out to the plate to bat, in his mind, we had him think, not how well am I going to do? I have to do well. I have to impress the fans, right? Instead, he only thought about, how do I serve my team? How do I get my friend on first base to second base? There's 2 outs. How do I make sure the man who's going to bat next gets up because I need to get a hit? How do I serve others? So now the pressure is off of you to perform and to impress. Now the heart is open and just says, how do I serve? I want to take care of these guys. I love these guys. And that was the key. And it's true. Even in music, when you play music with others, the best jam session is when each musician is trying to make the other musician sound better, not trying to impress them.
It's lovely examples, yes. And I have heard also, and we made a video out of it with Phil Jackson. You know about Bulls, sure. Chicago Bulls, and they were the losing team until Phil Jackson came in as a coach. And ever since he started coaching Bulls, and they had a winning streak for almost 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And when he leaves Chicago Bulls and joins LA Lakers, and then the winning streak starts there. And when you ask him what is the reason, he says, I teach them meditation. They all meditate before they even begin to practice. And there must be meditation before the match. Just for 5 to 10 minutes of meditation, that's all. This is the only thing he says I have done differently than most coaches. But that self-awareness and sharing attitude that my team matters, not myself.
Compassion, like you said.
Compassion, yeah.
I like the 5 you mentioned. Forgiveness, not letting go of your team member making a mistake, contentment with the situation. And the compassion. That's beautiful. I learned something there. I remember those 5.
May I request you one thing actually from you? I was listening to there is this lecture series by Great Courses. The title is like that, The Great Courses on Audible book releases. And this was on consciousness by Dr. Steve Jordan from Toronto University. And he talks of consciousness and memory, both. There he made a statement that we have the various centers functioning, optical nerve, optical center, olfactory, all those auditory. We also have recognized the thinking part of the brain. But so far, we are failing in identifying the center for intuition.
For intuition.
Intuition.
Yeah. I think that comes from clearing the mind of too much judgment, preconceived notions, conditioning, just letting the mind just be open again. And that begins with the heart. The heart opens the mind. Because if your intention is to serve others, not impress people with how great a scientist you are, but to serve science, this opens you up to intuition. Now, I agree with the fellow you were talking about. We don't know the exact part of the brain that brings intuition, but I think it's more not just a part of the brain, but it's turning off the other parts of the brain that block intuition and open yourself up to the superconscious input.
Yeah. So one of these days, I may be traveling to US and then hopefully try and meet you along with some children. And these children, Deepak must have told you that they can read with closed eyes. They can identify a person with closed eyes. And we begin the experiment like this, that when we keep our eyes closed, then the optic nerve the center doesn't respond. So in fMRI, we'll be able to see that this person is not seeing or having his eyes opened, right? So that is the first thing we learn. And then second thing we do is we give them different objects or a paper, something to read with closed eyes or identify a photograph or things like that. And during that process, see which part of the brain is involved in that activity. So it's not a big, I would say, time-consuming experiment. I think it can be concluded in a day or two.
Were these children, I would love to meet them and hear more about this. Were these children trained to do this, or they had the natural ability and were found?
We have trained more than 100,000 children so far. And Deepak had witnessed all these things. In fact, Deepak, he was so mesmerized actually when, he said, I'm going to Ladakh. When Deepak came here, he said, I'm going to Ladakh. And he wanted to know what's happening in the place he's going to visit. So he gave the photograph, which is over his iPhone. He showed it to this child. Child with his closed eyes felt and told Deepak that this place has no more light, no more spiritual light. Then Deepak was shockingly surprised. He said, it is true, because the master who used to live there passed on few months back.
Oh, yeah, I know the master you're talking about, yes.
This is even more advanced.
Yeah,
this is even more advanced. And some children, just reading with closed eyes or identifying the colors or identifying a person, these are all very, very interesting things. And my interest is more what really happens when they are intuiting from inside.
This was wonderful discussion.
Thank you, Rudy. And you carry on, and we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, let's stay in touch. We'd love to meditate again.
I've had so many interviews, but not like this one. This has been I learned a lot from you. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.